making everything unaffordable. We can't afford gas. We can't afford healthcare. We can't afford things here in Norfolk while you guys are lining your pockets within the presidency, within Congress. What are you guys going to do to regulate this and actually follow laws?
Damn! Trump's getting hit with warning signs left and right, pun obviously intended, most notably from one place that Republicans really don't want warning signs, a GOP town hall in Nebraska, of all places. Because the thing is, when Democrats criticize Trump, he can and does dismiss it as fake news. But when Republican voters show up at a Republican town hall in Nebraska and start shouting about Trump's agenda, calling to attention the very things and issues that he has caused, like the affordability crisis we are seeing, while of course commencing construction on his much needed UFC event on the South Lawn, it's becoming harder for the president to ignore.
I have a question about Congress's approval of wars. Where are you stepping in? The Strait of Hormuz was open until he attacked. There was no nuclear bomb there. You keep saying that you're going to make a deal to reopen the strait. That was already open. You're making everything unaffordable. We can't afford gas. We can't afford healthcare. What is Congress going to do?
Well, I can tell you that, first of all, we don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want them to have a dirty bomb. And I think we all have that shared concern.
Iran war, the White House ballroom, security for the White House ballroom, immigration enforcement, Trump Arch, returning the pool, the reflecting pool renovation, slush fund for crooks, and the farm bill. How do we pay for all this?
Congressman Mike Flood, a Republican in Nebraska, got hammered by his own constituents over Trump, the Iran war, affordability, immigration, Epstein, and the administration's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund. Flood faced a furious crowd at a town hall in Norfolk, Nebraska. Constituents shouted him down, they jeered, they challenged him, most notably on Trump's policies.
You're making everything unaffordable. We can't afford gas. We can't afford healthcare. We can't afford things here in Norfolk while you guys are lining your pockets within the presidency, within Congress. What are you guys going to do to regulate this and actually follow laws?
And at one point, the crowd reportedly broke into chants of, quote, slush fund for crooks. That's pretty bad news for Trump because, well, town halls are where members of Congress feel the ground underneath them, not through consultants, not through polling memos, but through actual voters standing in front of them saying, hey, we're struggling and we're angry. And the timing of this matters, right? Because it's one of the first town halls to take place after the announcement of the slush fund issue, which Mike Flood publicly defended on CNN.
But sir, I'm not asking you about, I don't want to ask you about process on this, because Senate Republicans, they kind of all but revolted against the acting attorney general. They left town without taking a vote, an important immigration funding vote for their agenda, because they felt so strongly about what many of them feel is a slush fund. Should House Republicans be approaching this the same way?
I think there are a lot of different reasons they left last week, and I don't pretend to know all of them. I'm in the House, not the Senate. But when we get back to Washington next week, I anticipate this will be something we talk about. Listen, there are Americans who have been targeted by the Department of Justice. Pro-life Americans, parents, Turning Point USA. We've seen it. This was an issue in the 2024 election. Should they be compensated for what they endured? Absolutely. Do we all have opinions on what this money should be used for? I'm sure we do. For me, a bright line is no money for the January 6th insurrectionists. That is not something that I agree with. I didn't agree with the pardons that were issued at the time, but we've moved on. We've moved on. This fund exists. There will be congressional oversight. What it will look like, I can't predict right now, but I know that I, as one member of the House of Representatives, am willing and looking forward to sitting down and talking about how it will work.
Trump's administration has pushed a nearly $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund framed as a way to compensate people who claim that they were targeted by politically motivated prosecution. Reuters reported that Many Senate Republicans have met with Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to raise concerns about the fund. And even Senate Majority Leader John Thune had said that senators had pressing questions about its implementation and oversight.
I think it's stupid on stilts.
Why?
Because it will invariably put us in a position where your taxpayer dollars and my taxpayer dollars could potentially compensate someone who assaulted a police officer, admitted their guilt, got convicted, got pardoned, and now we're going to pay them for that? That's absurd. The American people are going to reject this out of hand. When you take money from me to give to a purpose that I vehemently disagree with, that's tyranny, and that's what that account is.
We're back with Brendan and Scott. Scott, I guess the good news here is what the congressman was alluding to. You know, how bad is it? It's so bad, even terrified Republicans are vowing to, quote, kill it.
There are so many Republicans coming out against this thing, Nicole. It appears to me this slush fund is like as popular as poison ivy or a dinner plate full of vegetables, even for Republicans. I've got a whole list here. Brian Fitzpatrick told me he wants to just kill this thing. Fitzpatrick won a primary, faces a tough re-election in Pennsylvania. David Schweikert, frontline Republican in Arizona, says he is very concerned, deeply concerned about the money. And Don Bacon says he's not sure how Trump got this whole lawsuit settled. How do you negotiate against yourself? He's troubled. But I go deeper here. There are some MAGA Republicans who are equivocating. Clay Higgins of Louisiana, I asked him if he's comfortable with the payout. He says he's comfortable having a conversation about how this works. And Lindsey Graham says he wants to see what happens when it gets to the Senate floor. Nicole, that presumes this thing even goes to the Senate floor. It'd be Republicans who put it there. Nobody is claiming ownership of this thing. I have zero statements of support for this fund from any congressional Republican.
And even Fox News reported that many Republicans were recoiling from the fund itself. So it's not just Democrats calling it corrupt, right? Republicans are uncomfortable with it as well. And now voters at a Republican town hall are calling it a slush fund for crooks. And the thing is, voters, they're not sitting around thinking what America really needs is an almost $2 billion grievance fund. They're thinking, why is everything in our orbit so expensive?
The way that you are describing it, including your reference to the emoluments clause and other means by which this seems pretty illegal, even to somebody who's not a lawyer, makes me think that these things ought to be stoppable in court. I mean, who has standing to challenge the Board of Peace slush fund that you were just describing, or indeed this new one that they're trying to set up at DOJ?
Well, it won't surprise you to learn that the Roberts Court has made it extremely difficult by erecting the standing doctrine, political question doctrine, sovereign immunity, you name it, making it extremely difficult. And in addition to the fact, of course, that they've said that the president is not subject to criminal prosecution for actual crimes he commits under the auspices of his office. But at this point, everything must be tried in order to try to restore the rule of law in the country. We can't leave any potential tool just sitting on the table. We've got to try to attempt everything. But we must start by trying to get our at least 4 or 5 Republican colleagues to come over to our side to say this is utterly lawless and authoritarian, and it cannot stand. And a couple have made noises like that, but those are people who are in tough re-election races, and they might be trying to send the signal they've got a problem with it. If you've got a Republican running in your district who's saying, yes, this is problematic, ask them, will they sign their name to co-sponsor a bill to block this outrageous expropriation of the tax dollars of the people for completely political purposes, to give to Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, rioters, and insurrectionists, the people who beat up police officers. That's what this is about. It's about funding or pre-funding Donald Trump's private militia.
And if you look at Fox News' own polling, around 77% of voters say that the economy is currently in bad shape, while only 23% rate it positively. That's Fox, by the way. And they found that 58% say the cost of living is their top economic concern. And despite what the yes men around Lord Farquaad are constantly telling him, no, Trump has not brought gas down.
You know, it's been really incredible. And of course, you mentioned Venezuela, but all that flowing to our Gulf Coast refineries is also helping to keep the price of gas down at home. It's an amazing transformation.
And this is why this town hall matters, right? Because people are not treating Iran as some distant foreign policy abstraction. They are connecting it to their everyday prices, the gas to the cost of living. And when voters connect your war to their bills, you have a serious problem, especially when you have vocalized how much you don't care about their ever-growing bills when waging said war.
Yesterday, the president was asked about whether Americans' financial concerns were motivating him to make a deal with Iran. His response was, I don't think about Americans' financial situations. Do you think that's the right message? Do you think the president should be considering the financial tool?
I don't know the context in which he made that comment, but I can tell you the president thinks about Americans' financial situation.
Iran war, the White House ballroom, security for the White House ballroom, immigration enforcement, Trump Arch, returning the pool, the reflecting pool renovation, slush fund for crooks, and the farm bill. How do we pay for all this?
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.